What's up, guys? We are live. Welcome to the first episode of the Fuel Up podcast. It is my privilege, it's an honor to have with us today my brother Paul DeNicolas, also known as Wired by Paul. How are you doing today, Paul?
Doing good, man.
Awesome. Give me 1 second. We're having an issue with your mic. I'll fix it quickly. So, um, give me 1 second. I apologize. 1 second, guys. One second. If you want to come a little closer to the mic, just a bit. And, all right. Can you talk?
Better?
Not yet.
I can't hear myself too good.
You can't? Okay.
No, not really.
Okay. 1 second. How about now?
Good?
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
we're
Now,
good.
now
We're
I can
good.
hear it. Now
We're
I can
good.
hear it. Yeah.
Awesome. Sorry for the little technical difficulty, guys, but we are live again. We're with Paul DeNicolas, also known as Wired by Paul D on Instagram. I'm glad to have him here. It is a privilege and an honor. Uh, he's the one that got me into motorsports wiring, and uh, to have him here is an honor. It's a privilege. Thank you for being here.
Oh, man. Anytime. Anytime.
Before we start, I just kind of want to lay a framework. I know we discussed this earlier, but I meant every word. Um, and I want to lay this framework because I think everything we're going to discuss today goes hand in hand with your mindset, with your discipline, and with your character. And if there's something I've learned from you, Paul, is that everything you do it with discipline and you do it with character. You don't deviate. So I just want to thank you for being who you are and always showing that to me.
That
So,
means a lot, man. That
yeah.
means a lot. I'm glad you see it. You know, wasn't always like that, but over over years, it becomes part of the practice.
Yeah.
But
Awesome.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. So we're going to start with a few questions and organically just to keep going. But I guess the first question is, who are you, Paul? Who are you and how did you get started?
Well, I don't want to. Obviously, I knew this was going to be one of them, or figured. Um, I'll give you the not super condensed version, but a little bit
Okay.
condensed. So, my name is Paul DeNicolas. Um, I'll be 44 this year. I got into this. Want to say I was about 15 years old. My parents bought me my first '92 Civic hatchback. All my buddies, the older guys.
Did I hear that right? Honda Civic, Honda
Yeah,
baby.
yeah, that was the first one. My mother taught me how to drive stick shift on that car. I had no idea how to drive it. I think it was actually before I was 16 because I didn't have a permit yet. Mom taught me how to drive. All the older guys had Hondas that we kind of hung around with per
Okay.
se. And that was how it started, man. My uncle was an engineer. So as a kid, I always saw the Corvettes. He was a small block Chevy guy.
Okay.
Very talented engine builder. One of his best friends was a machinist who I still use today. Cousins always had dirt bikes, so always around it. You
Yeah.
know, that was my first like foot in the door, and
Okay.
then from the time I started playing around with my Honda, like that was it. I was hooked.
Yeah.
Before I was able to drive, we had the engine out of the thing. Um, you know, just tinkering around with stuff, and you know, it just really never stopped. Like we had spoke about in the past, it was kind of like, you know, it's been a roller
Yeah.
coaster. You know, you step away from it and you get back into it, and all that sort of thing. But it's always been part of my life and
Yeah.
how I got into it. And you know, that transitioned into my regular 9 to 5 job. I started working on cars.
Okay.
You know,
Yep.
um, and I was at a private shop in my town in Nutley where I grew up.
Okay.
A good buddy of mine got me a job at a Toyota dealer in 2002,
Okay.
and I had pretty much worked for Toyota ever since, on and off. I had my own shop, specializing mainly in Toyota, Lexus, like Asian imports per se. Um, and the Hondas were, were always a thing. In the early 2000s, I had my first turbo car. There were no standalones back though. There
Yeah.
were, but not many of us had them. We started out with the basic stuff and
Yeah.
tinkering around, and it kept going. Before I knew it, I had my first turbo car on the big AEM VCR box. Anybody remembers those big, big boxes, and just learning.
That's
But
a little before my time.
yeah, yeah. But that was the beginning of it. Learning by trial, error, mistakes.
Yeah.
There was no Instagram, there was no Facebook, there was nothing.
Yeah.
There was nothing. And it just kept going through my years in the dealer. I realized that I was a good mechanic per se.
Okay.
My mechanical abilities were, I would say, good
Yeah.
when it came to like R&R stuff, but I gravitated towards the drivability stuff. Electrical stuff always fascinated me.
Okay.
So from a young age, I was at the dealer working with 20 guys with a lot of experience. So I kind of would work my way around the dealer when we weren't busy and would ask questions and pick their brains. And this guy was really good at building engines, and this guy was really good at diagnostic work. And that's where I kind of knew that my path wanted to go. I didn't want to get filthy every day, go home all beat up. And, I did it. I did it plenty of years. I know
Yeah.
how to build engines and transmissions and rears. I've done everything.
Yeah.
But it wasn't like the passion. So I think learning that early on kind of transitioned me into the electrical side of things.
Okay.
And, fast forward a little bit. Now we're in, 2005, six. Still have my turbo car and working on other people's stuff. And years ago, I linked up with a place in California, and they were able to source like OEM Honda per se, Sumitomo, terminals and housings.
Okay.
And I got my hands on them. And instead of having to like pull pins out of a harness and splice, I was able to make things from scratch.
Okay. So that's how it started then. Before getting into constructing a full wiring harness, you were really using it to replace
Sure,
a
sure,
broken
yeah,
housing.
yeah.
Or
When we would put these engines in cars years ago, for the older guys, if they're going to tune
Yeah.
in and listen, if we had to add things to the harness, a lot of times we'd have to take a pin out of another and solder a wire or whatever.
Mhm.
And I found these terminals, and I didn't have to do that anymore. And I was able to make it look really clean. And like I said, the electrical stuff always grabbed my attention. So that was the beginning um, of, I don't want to say the motorsport stuff, because in 2004, 5, 6, it wasn't really
Yeah.
that yet. But it was growing into that, sourcing these connectors, learning about some of the tooling that was available.
Okay.
Um, yeah, that was kind of the start of it. And as the years went on, it progressed like everything else. I had walked away from it from like 2007, 8, 9. I want to say I got back to it in about 2010. I
Mhm.
bought another Honda, had my shop at the time, and um, I was it was a turbo car, and I was just playing around. I had made a harness for that car, nothing to run home about.
Okay.
I still had a lot to learn and a lot that I had missed in 4 years.
But you made the full harness.
I made the full harness. I mean, yeah, it was a full harness. But I mean, nowadays I probably wouldn't even want to look at it. But yes, it
Understood.
was, and it worked. And in 2011, I moved my shop into like an industrial complex, and I met Joel
Okay.
Levy, who owns Race Spec now, with my buddy Chris Harris. I met him, and he had done Hondas too. So we were just a few doors down, and he wasn't making harnesses at the time. He was kind of little fuse boxes and relay panels, and we shared some information. And I think he moved out of there right after Hurricane Irene. That was 2011. We got flooded real bad.
Yeah.
And he moved up to Xenocron tuning
Okay.
with Chris, I'm sorry. And he was doing some mechanical work. And his passion, uh, like mine, was geared toward the wiring stuff. And he actually did a lot of legwork, and he's the one that pretty much introduced me to the better wire, the better tooling, um, the better connectors, some of the mil spec connectors.
So at this point, he was already into motorsports wiring and
Yeah, so he had just kind of started doing it. At the time, he was called Speed Theory Race Development. I think he made a couple harnesses um, at that point, and then in 2013, myself, Chris Harris, and Joel kind of all formed Race Spec, and it was kind of short lived for me just
Okay.
because I had some personal stuff going on, and they were in Hillburn, New York. I was in Jersey. Um, but we always kept in touch. I always purchased material through them.
okay.
Um, but that was pretty much the time where the motorsport stuff took off, I would say.
Got it.
For all of us, for all of us. I mean, Joel progressed really, really fast. I mean, anybody that knows him, he was just a natural. And at the time I was getting into it too and constructing full harnesses. I might have even made one right before Race Spec. I wired a car for Cunha, the owner of CLM Motorsports. I did his car that was competing in sport front wheel drive at the time. I want to say that was 2012 or 13.
Okay. And how did you meet? How did that relationship form?
Me and who?
Cunha.
I met Cunha and a lot of those guys many years ago because he actually worked for Honda of Essex.
Okay.
Which was he was a regular mechanic. Met him years ago because my buddy worked at that same dealer. So we were friendly. We knew some of the same people. Back then there wasn't a lot of us, doing that sort of thing. And like I said, I stepped away from it for a little bit, and when I got back into it, kind of like reconnected, and ever since I probably say 2011 or 12, we've just always been in contact, and I do a lot of work for them. Send him a lot of work tuning cars. He pretty much sends me all their cars to do the wiring on. I've done their personal cars, customer cars. So, that was just a relationship that we formed a long time ago.
Okay.
And then kind of rekindled, so to say.
Okay.
Because like I said, the whole race car thing, wiring thing, it's been like a roller coaster. Times where I love it, times where I'm like, I could do without it.
Yeah.
But the guys at CLM have always been a constant.
Awesome.
We they've always had my back and guided me in the right direction. Still to this day, like if I have questions about things, tuning related, he's the first one I go to. I mean, I always say there's a lot of talented young guys out there, but it's very difficult to replace experience.
I agree 100%. So it sounds like you started around the same time. Like when you were doing wiring, was he coming up as a tuner, or
no,
was he already established?
He was already established. Cunha's been tuning cars since I don't remember what year, because he's a tad older than me.
Okay.
I mean, I had my first turbo car on an AEM, I think in 02 or 03, and he already had his cars, and he was going fast, like for what it was back then. So he's been established for years.
Okay.
He's been tuning cars over probably 25 years now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay, nice.
Yeah, his shop was originally in Newark. Don't hold me to it. I want to say they moved in there in 05.
Okay, I remember the spot.
But he would street tune cars for everybody. That's just in his blood, man. I think he was born.
Yeah.
he was born doing that stuff. So yeah, he's been doing it longer than me.
Yeah.
And never stopped.
Okay, nice. So Race Spec days, you were making the harnesses. You met Cunha. You were doing work for him as well. This was all local. You said Jersey based at the time.
Yeah. When it first started out, Cunha, I want to say his sport front wheel drive car was was the first one I did. Around that same time, there weren't a lot of guys doing it,
Mm-hmm.
so I had made a harness for Ray from R&R Racing. They're from like Carteret, New Jersey. They got the black. His son drives it now, Ray Jr.
Okay. Yeah. Yep.
I made a harness for another one of his buddies. So I had done like a few local guys.
Okay. Nice.
And that was kind of what it was. It was just, word of mouth. I wasn't at that time, like I said, I had my business. So I was running my own repair shop at that time from 2010 to about 15 when I went back to Toyota.
Okay.
Because in that time frame when I had the business, I was doing the Honda stuff a little bit on the side per se, and then I got a job opportunity to go back to Toyota in December of 2015.
Okay.
And I took that. I closed my business down, and still the Honda thing just kind of just kept going. A little bit of tuning, a little bit of wiring. Not so much the mechanical stuff at that point anymore. On my own car, I would do it.
Okay.
But yeah, the mechanical end of things had by the time I started with Toyota, I wouldn't do that for anyone anymore. That was just on my own personal stuff.
Okay. So you started with the passion for cars with your first car, Honda Civic.
Yep.
You got into the mechanical side of things. You became a mechanic, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
You learned from, all the people around you.
Yep.
Eventually that turned into a love for the electrical side of things.
Yeah.
You started with terminals and housings.
Yep.
And that grew into a full harness.
Yeah.
That you're not so proud of.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So now we're at the point where you're making these harnesses. You're forming relationships with, these guys, these tuners with faster cars.
Sure.
And you're becoming more established. At the time, there's no Instagram, there's no Facebook, there's no social media at that time, right? I'm assuming.
Early on, there wasn't. By the time I had done the sport front wheel drive car for CLM, excuse me. Yeah, there was Instagram, there was Facebook.
Okay.
And that was a thing then.
Okay.
By the time I would say by the time I was making harnesses regularly, Facebook and Instagram were already going.
I find there's a benefit, but what benefits were there to the fact that you started this at that time period when there wasn't so much false information or, so many people doing things the wrong way, where you had to learn how to do things the right way?
Well, that's exactly it. That was the benefit. You had to learn how to do things the right way and the wrong way because, you learn from mistakes.
Yeah.
So anybody that says they didn't make a mistake, they're full of it. It's happened, especially to us years ago, dealing with standalones and OEM Honda parts and OEM distributors. I mean, I'm sure everybody's went through it. So we learned a lot, man. We ruined engines. I know I ruined plenty of them. And there was really there wasn't a lot of guys that had much better information than the few of us.
Mm-hmm.
I got help one time from Vinny 10.
Yeah.
His shop was called Performance Factory, if I remember correctly, back in the day. And he's the one that actually helped me figure out a lot of issues that I had with my car. But aside from that, there wasn't a lot. Like there was Urban Racer. That was like a forum, and Honda Tech was there. But
Honda Tech was a big one. I remember
Honda Tech was a big one. But I don't remember going on there for like technical information per se. Like people would share things more.
Okay.
But most of that stuff came from trial and error, and I think that's how you really build a foundation from being in it, learning why you're, doing it, making the mistake, rectifying the mistake, but figuring out why that happened.
So you could avoid it next time.
Now I feel like a lot of that gets skipped because there's so much information. There's so many movies and videos on YouTube and this that I think sometimes the basics are forgotten about and people get in trouble that way.
I could relate when I started tuning. Rolo's the one that taught me and got me on the way.
Yeah.
And the one thing he told me was, you want to learn how to tune, learn on your own car.
Yeah.
Blow up your own car,
Yeah.
you know? And I blew my own car up, but through that, I learned what not to do.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there's, there's definitely a blessing in coming up in that time period. Nowadays, it seems like all people post is highlight reels.
Mm-hmm.
When they go fast and when things work, and when it doesn't work, you don't hear a thing. So
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of that. I'm sure nobody, everybody wants to post the highlights and not the nightmares, but everybody goes through it.
100%.
I mean, listen, I deal with a lot of these guys that work on a lot of the cars. I mean, it's inevitable, especially nowadays with how hard these cars are getting pushed. It's going to happen. It doesn't mean that they're less of a builder or less of a tuner or less of a whatever. It happens.
Yeah.
It happens. But yeah, you see a lot of the highlights.
That and the fact that they're doing something that hasn't been done before. They're trying to go deeper into whatever territory they're in. So they have to, change the strategy, try new things. So it's going to happen for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Paul, going back to the wiring a bit. So what misconceptions are there about wiring harnesses nowadays? Let's start with...
Yeah, I was going to say, you're going to have to give me the questions because I could probably go on a tangent.
Let's start with the price of a harness and what it would cost to construct a harness the right way compared to what now seems to be, a $500 harness, and people expecting that to compared to something that you offer, for example.
Okay. You're asking me the price of
what? No, what I'm trying to ask is to explain what makes the difference between what you offer and a Chinese harness that costs $500.
I mean, there's so many things. You start with just somebody on the receiving end of a phone call.
Yeah,
is huge. I answer my phone. My phone number's been the same for 24 years. I answer emails. I answer text. I mean, I provide documentation with every single engine harness. I mean, we don't even need to get into all the particulars when you're talking a $500 Temu or China or whatever
for $300 and $200.
Like if you're cheaper and cheaper, to compare that to like a hand built USA made harness, I would stop it at documentation, somebody on the other end to ask a question. To me, that's worth its weight in gold.
And we haven't even got to what the materials cost, and you're saying that just those two things is enough.
I feel it's enough because you got to remember, somebody that's going to purchase a $500 harness hasn't done their due diligence to even know the difference, or they wouldn't purchase that $500 harness. So then that brings us to the next part of it. When you receive this harness, are you capable of installing this on your car? Are you capable of powering this up the right way with the proper gauge wire, the proper connectors? Can you add things into this harness in a fashion where it's going to function?
Mm-hmm.
Can you add things into this harness easily?
Exactly.
When you buy a harness from me, let's just say we're working with a fuel tech.
Good choice.
Yeah, every connector is populated. Every output from the ECU is populated. All you have to do is reference my material.
Mm-hmm.
I would almost guarantee that a $500 harness has none of that.
Yeah.
So now you're left doing what? Searching for wires, adding on to the back of the ECU where I make it, you can grab a Deutsch connector, simplify your life, your paperwork's there, you don't have to cut, you don't have to splice, everything is there.
Yeah.
I mean, that alone is worth it. Never mind if we're going to get into wire type, loom type, connector, genuine connectors versus China knockoffs. Like I could go on forever.
Yeah.
And we could talk about it. It's not a big deal. Yeah. But, just in comparison from a $500 harness to, let's just say, a $3,500 harness from me, it's worth it alone just in support, paperwork, and ease of installation.
Yeah. And I agree with that. And the reason I want to touch this topic is because I feel that with the current amount of offerings of people being able to get a harness for $500,
Yeah,
it almost seems like they're forgetting the reason why they should invest in a proper harness. You know, you get what you pay for.
yeah,
I can't tell you how many clients I've had come to my shop with issues directly due to the harnesses they were running.
oh yeah,
And you know, it's a shame that, you know, there's people like you who offer such a quality piece. Or let me say this another way, that somebody's willing to spend $20,000 on a vehicle to put a $500 harness on it,
yeah,
you know?
yeah,
And yeah, so let's talk a little bit about the construction of the harnesses if you don't mind.
yeah. I
Uh
mean, uh, they all, they all start the same way. Mine, and we've spoke about it before. Whether I made it once or whether I made it 50 times, they all start with documentation. They all start with a drawn out diagram for pretty much for my sanity, because
yeah.
I usually don't provide that to a customer.
Hmm.
Um, that's how they start out. Um, I get together with the customer most of the time, especially now because they're more custom. I spend as much time as I need to on the phone asking the questions that I need to ask, or via email if we could do it that way. Um, and that's it. It's documentation first. It's material selection next, and then we get right to work. I do one harness at a time, um, and that one harness gets all my time, whether it's 10 hours, whether it's, I've had harnesses that have taken me 60 to 80. Um, and that's, and that's how it goes. And I don't deviate from the plan. That's another thing where I think it's better when you buy a harness from somebody that's where it's a more one-off piece, and not
Hmm.
just for me. There's plenty of guys that do it, but there's a big benefit in that. There's a big benefit in that, and um, being that that process stays the same every time, you're
Hmm.
left with a really high quality piece, and it's, I don't want to say every time, but they work every time.
Yeah.
They work every
I
time.
don't want to say
You
it,
know,
but
it's just the way it is. When you have your checks and balances and you are doing the paperwork the way I do, and you're quality controlling it, you're left with, a product that only I feel like a one-off piece can give you.
and I could attest to that because I took two courses that you offer for motorsports wiring. I've never before that I never made a harness in my life.
Yeah,
Uh, I never even added to a harness in my life, and I was able to construct my harness, and it worked perfectly. And
yeah,
I followed the steps
yeah,
to a T.
yeah,
So I could attest to that, and that's awesome.
yeah.
Um, so making the harness, Paul. There's a couple misconceptions about harnesses and what's needed or what's necessary,
Mm-hmm.
and some things are kind of like over glorified. So I have a few questions for you.
Sure, sure. Hit me with them.
Concentric twisting. Why is that uh, glorified to the way it is? Is it really that important? And if it is, when is it important and when isn't it?
I think it's glorified to the extent that it is because a lot of people can't figure out how to do it. A lot of people don't want to put the time in to do it. Um, and it's cool looking.
It is.
It's cool looking. You finish it. It's super rewarding as a builder.
Yeah.
It's super rewarding as a builder. Um, I would say, realistically, 90% of the time, maybe not 90, maybe 80% of the time, it's probably not necessary.
Okay.
Um, especially when you have to take somebody's budget into consideration. For, let's just use a front wheel drive drag car, for example, it's not 100% necessary. You can work your way around it. If you have an area where you're making all these crazy bends and the harness is twisting and turning and maybe under some intake manifolds on like a V8,
Mm-hmm.
or something like that, you might want to implement it. for
strain relief,
strain relief, flexibility is second to none. I mean,
mm-hmm.
you got to remember when you concentric twist a harness, you could take it and bend it 90 degrees and all the wires are going to flex the same.
Yeah.
If you have all your wires shrunk down in a piece of DR and you bend it 90 degrees, you're going to have more strain on the outside than the inside.
Yeah. Yes.
It's just the way it works.
Okay.
You can't get around that unless you build accordingly, which most of the time is pretty easy to do.
Yeah.
You know, and again, it's some customers that I deal with, they want it. They want their harness full motorsport grade, Deutsche Auto Sport connectors, concentric twisted, boots, epoxy, everything.
Yeah.
And that's fine. But realistically, I think if anybody told you any different, they're probably lying a little bit.
Yeah.
Because you could get away without it in a lot of cases.
Give me a time frame, hour wise, at least to estimate the difference in constructing a harness that's concentric twisted and one that's not.
I bet on a full, if we're talking like front wheel drive, drag car, sport front wheel drive style, fully populated ECU, everything to log under the sun, you're probably going to add 10 to 20 hours on top of that. And your whole plan of attack has to change because it's not just measure the wires and put it in shrink and shrink it down. Now it's, I need a certain number of wires per layer to make this twist work, but they also need to end up in the right spots. So you could really head beat yourself for hours just on setup.
So what sensor is going where? What sensor is coming out first? What layer is going to be on? All of that.
It could change like the whole routing of the harness. Wow. You know.
Yeah.
Because there are ways around things when you do that, but it's basically a mathematical formula that if you start with X amount of wires and they're all the same size, the next layer is going to have X amount of wires and the following and the following and so on. You have to have that planned out first.
Yeah.
If you don't have every single thing planned out, every wire, every layer accounted for, it will not work.
Oof.
You can't make, like if you make a regular harness and you forget something, I guess you could recover somewhat easily depending on where you are. There's no room for error in that. You have to know everything before you start. It has to be either hand drawn like I do or a program like some other guys do. And it all has to be accounted for. Now throw in a 61 position mil-spec connector.
Mm-hmm.
Now you need to figure out how you're going to make that all fit in there. Can you make it fit? Do I need a bigger one? Do I need two? Do I separate the ignition harness? I mean, it's, you can go like pre-planning, you could go for hours. And I think most guys don't want to take that initial step. If you look on the internet and you follow guys that build motorsport grade harnesses, there's not a lot of them that are concentric twisting their harnesses. I mean, it probably seems like a lot, but in the amount compared to the amount of guys that are building them, it's really not a lot.
Yeah.
Because most people don't want to, I don't want to say they don't have the know-how, because even I could show somebody how to do it.
Mm-hmm.
But once they see what it takes to do that, most likely they're not going to want to put in the time to do that.
I agree.
And that's just it's my honest opinion. And from what I've seen, I know guys that build harnesses that have zero idea how to do it and don't want to do it.
If you make 10 harnesses for clients, how many of them are paying you for this service? Concentric twisting, epoxy, how many of them are going for that grade of a harness out of 10?
On my end?
On your end?
Probably one.
One?
Probably one.
So one out of every 10.
Yeah, probably.
And the other 9, they're not getting these services, but they're getting a quality harness that's going to meet all their expectations and do everything it has to do.
Yep.
So
yep.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I have another question for you.
Yeah, man.
And I know this word drives you nuts because You said it before on social media, mil spec. And the misuse
Yeah.
of the word mil spec nowadays,
Yeah.
everybody's selling a mil spec harness.
Yeah.
What's that about? And what is it not?
It's exactly what you said. It's the misuse of a word. I don't think any of us, aside from maybe a very select few, Joel from Race Spec, maybe
Wow.
a couple other guys, are building a engine harness to a military grade standard. It's just it's not happening. So the word makes me nuts because there's certain procedures and practices that are taken into place when you build these things, and a motorsport harness doesn't have to be
mil
a
spec.
military grade harness. But yeah, I think people just use the word because they I don't know who first introduced it, but just because you put a firewall connector on a car does not make it a military grade harness.
Yeah.
I mean, it just doesn't. So it's it's just a little bit. I think it's just a little misconception.
Yeah.
It's you could find the documentation.
Yeah.
You could find the documentation and read up on it and find out what it is, and you'll clearly see that most of us are not building to that standard.
That's amazing to hear you say, and you added yourself to the list of people who aren't building to that standard.
Yeah.
Knowing the type of work that you put out.
Yeah.
I know on my end, if I ever say mil spec, I'm probably referring to the connector.
Sure.
Mil spec connector.
Yeah.
Yeah. But not the harness. I'm far.
Yeah.
If you're saying you're not building to that specification, you could call. I'm basically Timu at that point.
That's funny.
Let's talk a little bit about material selection and the differences and why certain materials worth building a harness with. Maybe let's talk about looming, maybe some wire, TXL versus TFCell wire, the why and the what's, if you don't mind, just a bit.
Yeah. I'll be 100% honest with you. My TXL days were very short-lived.
TXL wire, that's kind of like what comes on the Fuel Tech harnesses. The unterminated harnesses, Hall Tech unterminated harnesses.
Yeah, like
that's TXL wire.
TXL or GXL, depending on what they give you. My days were kind of short because of Joel, thankfully, introduced me to the TFCell wire. And I mean, just a few basics. It's way easier to use. It's way smaller. When you're talking amperage capabilities, you could run more amperage through.
I'm sorry to interrupt. Typically, the insulation's smaller, right? But the actual wire is typically
the wire. The wire is usually around the same, if not maybe a tad bigger. Like if let's just say you compare it to 20 gauge, but the strand count is usually way higher, or I shouldn't say usually, it is way higher on a TFCell wire, which is the reason you could get away with dropping down your sizes a lot when you use TFCell wire as opposed to like a TXL or GXL, or even like an automotive primary hookup wire that you'd buy at AutoZone.
Yeah.
I remember back in the day using like 10 gauge from the parts stores to run a fuel pump. And there were times I'd see that wire even getting a little hot from like an in-tank Walbro
10 gauge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On a Walbro 255, if I remember correctly.
Wow.
On a 255 with TFCell wire, you could put 16 gauge.
Yeah.
And you're not going to have any issues.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, size
and weight. I would say weight's a part of that as well.
Because the jacket is so much smaller. Way easier to use. And if we're going to get into the concentric twisting thing, your chances of doing it and having it cooperate with TXL wire would probably be very difficult.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, when it comes to like nowadays, it's even that is like standard on even just like a stock replacement harness. If you buy one from K-Tune or Rywire, I'm pretty sure that's all TFCell wire. It may all be black, but I think it's pretty much TFCell wire. That should be like I feel like now that should be industry standard.
I agree.
For anybody making something, I wouldn't even.
I know we were talking earlier, and I've made the jump. I'll never do I'll never use TXL again. You can't force me.
Yeah.
It's TFCell is easier to work with, you know.
100%.
Yeah. Besides the
100%.
fact that it's so much better.
Yeah.
Um, I want to go back to something you said about, you know, being that wiring guy in your city, you know, doing harnesses one at a time. I find it interesting you do one at a time. You don't have two projects going on at once. I've had experiences on the dyno and as a tuner where I've had pretty big names, and I won't mention names, but I've been surprised with some of the work that's coming out of some of these bigger names that do mass production at this point. You know, I've had failed crimps, I've had pins come out the housings, I've seen it all. Um, and compared to somebody who's spending all their time on one harness to make sure it's right, um, even that, you can't compare a person who's like doing one off compared to a company that's doing many at a time.
Yeah.
Um, what do you feel about that? And why should somebody choose, you know, uh, a person to that does a harness at a time, you know, and why should they pick them? I'll give you another example. As a tuner, I have a lot of people who decide to go out of state to get tuned. And I never understood that, just as an example,
Mm-hmm.
because when you need to reach out for problem solving, I'll be right there.
Yeah.
You reach out to somebody another state away and they have their clientele and they're busy, you
Yeah.
know? So why do you pick a specific person to make the harness? And does the location play a part of that as well to you?
Um, yeah, I think the location could play a part depending on what the customer needs. I won't physically work on those cars anyway, so location doesn't play a huge part per se with me. Um, but when you choose to use somebody that's a little more like the style I do, I guess, not like a mass production, it's easier to get in touch with me. It's easier to get a copy of your documentation if you lose it. It's easier to shoot me a text or an email and say, hey, what's this blue wire hanging down here that's zip tied or whatever it is. Um, I sell a lot of harnesses out of state.
Okay.
Um, so locally, I mean, a local guy probably wouldn't get much benefit from me nowadays since I don't do any physical work on the cars and I won't do any physical work and or installation on any car unless it's for CLM.
Okay.
Those are the only guys I do cars for. Um, those are the only ones that I will come to a shop and do any type of install of the harness. I won't do it. I won't travel. I won't go to anyone else's shop. Um, it's
That's
just it's
interesting.
it's just what I chose to do, and most of that is because the way I work takes a lot of planning and preparation. So if the guys at CLM get a car and this is going to be a sport front wheel drive car or an all wheel drive car or whatever, this is a big project. This is fabrication for months, engine building for months, planning for months. People don't realize the amount of time it takes and phone calls. Cunha doesn't really deal with it. Ricky and I go back together. That's um, Ricky runs the shop. He's the head mechanic,
Mm-hmm.
but he plans it all out. The amount of time we spend on the phone texting, where's this going to go? Where's that going to go? Um, it's hours. It's hours. So I do that for them because of the, uh, how big these projects are.
Okay.
For me to do that for other people would it just it's tough. If you're not the one tuning the car, it's going here for building. It just adds a lot. For me, it's just easier for the out of state guys to sell in my package. This is what we usually do. I offer it one way, and that's it. Unless it's something super custom and the guy can give me full details on what he wants, and I build it the exact way he wants. Which I
Okay.
have people that have done that too.
Yeah.
Um, so location, I wouldn't say is a huge
That's
benefit, but
fair.
a smaller guy or a shop that's working at a higher level, like a race spec, like John Reed Racing, like Cody Phillips, like these guys that are building a true like one-off piece,
Mm-hmm.
fully populated everything, that's where you're going to get, that benefit. I mean, a lot of guys will buy a harness and can add on, and that suits their need. But
Okay.
for me, you get the full, and a lot of other guys,
Yeah.
you get the full Monty.
Okay. Yeah. So location doesn't play a big part because of the services and the way you offer it.
Yeah.
But there is something to say about somebody who takes their time, a person who does a harness at a time, and comparing it to some of these bigger companies that just mass produce.
Yeah.
And I've seen the difference. That's awesome. I have a million questions that I'm trying to find a way to consolidate all of them. I could see ourselves doing another interview or two.
Yeah. If we
in
have
the
to.
future.
Yeah, if we have
But
to.
yeah. When did wiring turn into tuning for you? Or when did you start tuning?
Tuning turned into wiring.
Okay.
Like I said, when we first started back then, that was 20, that was 24 years ago. So in the beginning, it wasn't really tuning like it is nowadays. In the beginning, it was, play around with a fuel pressure regulator, move the distributor a little bit.
Okay.
Maybe we had a VTEC controller and we could manipulate the map sensor a little bit, whatever. Then with the turbo cars, some of us still got them to run decent on the little, I'm dating myself here. These guys are going to, with the little piggyback and the FMU and that sort of thing. But in 2000, when I put the car on AEM and realized how much went into getting a car running on a standalone and having to learn and figure out problems, that was when it started to transition into some of the other stuff too. Okay. So it was tuning before wiring. Then I told you I took a little break from it, got back into it. I had Chris Harris. Like, I had my car on AEM before I even knew it, like a chip DC.
What was that, Series 2 or?
That was, the first one was a Series 1, the big gigantic one. It was like the size of a VCR.
Okay.
It was on a Series 1. Then I had issues, and then I got the smaller Series 1 box, but mine was always a Series 1 back then. And then I stepped away from it, and when I came back into it, I didn't know anything about Hondata. Nobody had Hondata. Chris Harris from Xenocron had a shop the next town over in Bloomfield, and he would chip ECUs. My car was already on an AEM back then, so I didn't pay much mind. When I got back into it in 2009, he was like, "Oh, you could use a Hondata." I'm like, "What's that?" I didn't want to learn anything. Mm-hmm. He tuned the car. After he tuned it, I started tinkering around with it and was like, "Wow, this is super easy to use."
At that point, it was S300, the Honda.
I was an S300. I had version 1. And I'm like, "Wow, this is like super easy to use." And it like ignited the bug again to kind of start tinkering around. And I was just doing a little bit of tuning. At that point, I was familiar with the AEM stuff, the Hondata stuff. A buddy of mine, not that anybody used it, it didn't last long, but a buddy of mine had an all-motor car, an Excel Gen 7 or something back in the day that I tinkered with. But yeah, it was the tuning, then the wiring, and then the tuning kind of faded away. I had another car that I put on AEM, and I had this was a version 2, and I had such bad luck in the beginning that I had Cunha from CLM tune the car. And then I got rid of that, and it was kind of the two, like, again, it was the whole race car motorsport thing was always kind of like an up and down. I wouldn't say love hate. It was like love and then lose some interest. And probably 2017 or 18, I started getting back into the tuning thing and trying to familiarize myself with some of the newer stuff, the K series cars, and that sort of thing.
Okay. So when did you go from staying with the tuning? When did you go from the Hondata to Motec? I know you were running the gold box, correct, on your car?
Yeah.
Towards the end. And how was that transition?
So that was, it's funny you asked that, because that was like a turning point, because my other car was on AEM. I sold that car. I put the last car I had together, And I was kind of up in the air. I actually bought a Haltech for it because I was super familiar with the Haltech because I spent a lot of time with a Volkswagen.
That and Fuel Tech wasn't out yet. I get
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, I spent a lot of time with that. Actually, Fuel Tech might have been out, but it was new. And the Volkswagen I had been tuning was on Haltech. So I'm like, oh, I'm going to put my Honda. So obviously, you know, my guys over at CLM were like, listen, you want to hit the ground running? Put a gold box on that thing. Now, for me, it was a little bit nerve wracking because I didn't know anything about the ECU.
Mm-hmm.
I like being able to do things myself.
Yeah.
And I had never wired one on the Motec yet. So I said, you know what? This will be a good opportunity to do everything. But instead of just wiring the car, I downloaded the Motec manual. I read it front to back, and it's very limited. There's a lot to be desired if you're looking to think you're going to understand the whole thing. So I read the Motec software booklet,
Okay.
downloaded the software, tinkered through the software. Compared to other softwares, it's difficult to use. It's missing a lot of the quick key functions.
Okay. You're kind of doing like a cell at a time type of thing.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. There's no copy and paste.
Mhm.
There's some other functions that are tough to do, and to interpolate things is
Yeah.
tough. Or not tough, but just different.
Yeah.
So, me being the person I am, I took about 2 months of reading it,
Wow.
looking through the software, and Motec had just some very, very basic videos. And I said, you know what? I want to at least be able to get this car running and not have to have Cunha give me a base map. I want to bring
That's
it.
awesome.
I was going to tune it myself in the beginning, but I had been through so much in that 2 months. When I went to the dyno, Cunha didn't even know he was going to tune the car. He's like, oh, like you tuning it or me? I'm like, just tune it. I was a little nervous.
Yeah.
Still a little shaky with the software, but I spent 2 months so I could get that thing to run.
Yeah.
And
That's awesome.
It's not like these other ECUs where there's nothing populated. You know, if you create a base map in Fuel Tech, some stuff is going to be there. It'll have some stuff in the.
I will say Fuel Tech is close to that, meaning most people will shy away from it because they can't file open.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Still, it gets you a lot closer.
It does.
It gets you a lot closer with the Fuel Tech from what I've seen. But yeah, you can't open a file and start the car. So it was nice because it took me back to having to think a lot, which is nice because then when you go to work on these cars the second time, now I have the experience with the software, a little bit of tuning, the wiring, which I think is important because a lot of the wiring guys are just wiring guys. Got to remember, I've worked on cars in a dealer as a kid. I focused more toward the diagnostics, the drivability, the electrical. I've tuned cars. So for me, it's a lot easier to take a customer of mine that may not know as much and guide him in the right direction rather than be like, oh yeah, here's a harness. And I can't answer any of their other questions.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, it was a lot. You know, it was a lot because
awesome.
not everybody does it. Not everybody was doing it. And it was a big jump for me.
And you said that was a turning point because it expanded your knowledge. Did you start doing things differently from that point forward? Did you how did it?
Yeah, I did. The one thing that it changed for me was when you're working with an ECU that's so capable, that's when I really implemented like, all right, we're going to use up every input and every output on this thing, so we never have to go back in here. And whoever gets this harness down the line, which somebody did get it, it's ready to go. Both of the last 2 Motec harnesses I made are both in the same kind of group in I forgot what state they're in. But I sold 2 harnesses, the tuner reached out, and I sold both of them to his customers. So it was nice because they could hit the ground running.
So they're both currently still being used.
Yeah, they're both still being used.
That is awesome.
Yeah, the one from my car is on a guy's CRX, and the one that was on a CLM customer car is on an Integra.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
And it shows, again, what I was saying about discipline, character. You know, in this discussion we're having, it just goes to show from the very beginning, and it followed through. The fact that these harnesses are still being used right now, and you're using the same procedures and you don't skip steps,
Yep.
you do it right, and it's lasting to this day.
Yeah, and if with that being said too, um, not only the construction of them and the durability and the craftsmanship and the quality, uh, if you provide that documentation, like I told you, and you keep it consistent across the board, it's very easy to pass that off to
Mm-hmm.
another guy, and then have him hit the ground running.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of forward thinking in this,
Yeah.
because you don't know who's going to get their hands on one of these harnesses.
Yeah.
If one of these part out guys grab it and they get my harness, they're going to have documentation. They're
Yeah.
going to have a fully populated book, and the next guy that gets it is going to be able to make sense of it.
That is awesome.
And it's important.
So, switching over a little bit, we've discussed primarily Hondas with everything we've discussed.
Yeah.
And you've been working with Volkswagens. That's caught my attention. I actually met you in Ireland.
Oh yeah.
You were working on the green.
Yep.
What is that? A Golf GTI?
Yeah, that's a GTI.
GTI.
Yep.
Yeah, that's when I met you. When did you get introduced to, or when did you start working on Volkswagen?
That was in 2020, because that was a guy I work with. Now he's the boss of the shop. He might have been back then too. He's the service manager for my dealer. He bought the car. It was like a little scrap box, like street car, like it was a junk box, and he was using this program to like flash the stock ECU, and there was a lot of stuff.
Sounds like a Volkswagen guy.
Yeah,
I'm joking.
A lot of stuff in the background with that ECU, and it was just didn't really cooperate per se. And he was like, "Oh, they make a Haltech," and I have had some Haltech experience. I kind of skipped it, but I did have a B series car back in the day that I ran a K series box on. They released the trigger pattern years ago.
Oh, cool.
To run a Haltech Pro plug-in for the B series. So I did have that on one of them too. So I was familiar with the layout and I liked it. It was super easy to use, even the Pro plug-in stuff on the older software. So they made an Elite box for the Volkswagen, and I was like, yeah, I could tune that car.
Yeah.
And that's how it started. It started with that, and again, I think it probably captured my attention a little more because it's very different than a Honda. I mean, there's like 4 of those guys in the United States that are going fast.
What engines are they running?
So they run, it's either a VR6 or a 4-cylinder 1.8 turbo. The one I tune has a 1.8 turbo in it.
Okay.
But and I hope
so the white one, I'm sorry to interrupt, that's a VR6?
That's a VR6. That's a 12-valve VR6.
Things fast.
Yeah. But again, him and like 3 or 4 other guys in the entire North America are the only guys going fast. So it's not like a Honda, and I hope the Honda guys don't get mad, but I'm going to say it anyway. You could pretty much go to any Honda shop and say, build me an 850 car.
Easy.
Yep. I'm going to go out there and probably say nowadays you could probably go to any of the better Honda shops and say, build me an 81, 82, 80 car. And probably could do it fairly easily.
I agree.
The Volkswagens are not like that. The information is way less. The parts they're way more customized setups, not a lot of shelf stuff. So it's a lot more work, Luckily, those guys that have those cars, they've been a big help and shared a lot of the info. But it's still hard.
So that went right into my next question, and I was going to ask what has taken them so long to, I would say, catch up to the Hondas. But it seems like they're getting there at a rapid pace now. So I was wondering what might have changed.
The guy with the VR6, yeah, he's close. I mean, how close is he really? I don't know. An 8.2 is kind of there.
A big jump from where they were.
They were 8. I think he had been an 8.4. The 4-cylinder guys have been 8.6. And there's a guy from New York, Ed, who owns FFE. He had been 8.3 in 2018. And he's pretty much the guy you go to for custom. I mean, he does 6-cylinder stuff too.
I feel like I haven't seen that car in like a couple of years.
He hasn't been out in a long time. It's all-wheel drive now. But he does all the custom stuff for the 4-cylinders. So it's like if you're trying to make anything over 1,000, I mean, even less. We've made more, but technically we're pushing the limits of the hydraulic lifters, the stock blocks. Like, now these guys are running sleeved blocks, aluminum blocks from other countries, and just a lot of custom stuff. So it's a lot more work. But I don't know what you know, the guy that tunes those cars is super, super smart and puts in a lot of time and effort. And I mean, he spends probably countless nights going over data. So I'm sure that was a big help for those guys. They try to emulate some of the Honda stuff. I mean, it's not,
I was going to say, you could kind of hear it in like the traction control now and the way they're implementing it.
The white car is now on a fuel tech. So
there you go.
Yeah, and it was I think it was a lateral move.
Yeah.
I still having some little bugs worked out, but at the end of the day, it's like he goes out there and he tries. He was down for a little bit, a couple of years, regrouping, and I helped him make the harness and put it on the fuel tech. But it's a combination of a lot of things. These guys don't have like a cookie cutter setup like most of the Hondas do. So it's not like they could be like, let me just try this transmission. Those gears come from, I don't know if it's Norway or wherever they come. Wow. They're from far away. They're hard to get. They're not easily accessible. To make a transmission or a final drive change is not very easy. You don't have the rev limit capabilities.
What are they revving them to at the moment? Roundabout.
I revved the 4-cylinder probably higher than I should, about 10,000.
Nice.
But these guys are like, no way. Like if you listen to any of them, they'll tell you like the stock hydraulic lifters don't take them past like 8,500. So.
And you're just putting 1,500 on top of that.
Yeah, we're going past it. We're starting to see some of the issues, but again, we're trying a transmission combo that none of these guys have used before, and it works pretty well.
That's awesome. The green car ran a 9.0 this year, right? This
went a 9.0 season. Yeah.
Very close to the 8s.
Yeah, and that was with a 1.8 crank. We usually run a 2.0 crank in that thing, but we shot a rod out of it.
Okay.
And we had to go back to the 1.8 crank, which makes those cars really difficult to get to leave. Because of the transmission options, you have to run a slipper. So you throw that into the mix. Like you'll never get them to leave without a slipper.
Okay. Traction. What just
it'll
just
bog. It'll bog because the long finals that they run.
Got it. Okay.
Like the Hondas are running 4.2s.
That specific car, what are you launching it at? If you don't mind me asking.
With the 1.8 crank, I have to let it leave at about 7,000. With a 2.0 crank, I could go down to about 6,400.
Okay, all right.
Which is, that car shows a lot of potential, and even
it does.
With the Haltech, they released a lot of cool stuff that we haven't tried because I could just leave it the way it is, and it'll 60-foot okay. So I just kind of left it alone. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff to try. Just when you think you got an ECU figured out, you figure out there's other things to do. Yep. So we took that off the Elite 1500 and put it on the new Nexus box.
Okay.
Which definitely responds quicker to the traction control, to the rev limiters.
It's funny you say that because something I always say, but it's kind of confirming my beliefs. I've noticed that with the fuel tech system, I feel like it's faster to respond compared to the Elite, at least. I haven't dealt with the Nexus, but
way faster.
Faster, and that's one of the reasons I actually really like the fuel tech. I feel it's really fast. To respond to changes. Time based and all of that. So
the Elite compared to this is like a big difference. Even when I look at the logs, like we just put it on here, I never dynoed the car again, but I could even see in the logs like the gear detection will get a little confused if it sees rear wheel speed. Just jump a hair. The Elite would never do that because I guess it wasn't processing the data fast enough.
Yeah. Yep.
But yeah, man, it's always a learning curve, so it keeps my attention, and it's not easy. Awesome. It's not easy. So I think that's kind of what intrigues me a little more.
Do you prefer Volkswagen over Honda at this point, as far as like you said, it intrigues you? Is it like, has it captured you, or would you consider yourself a Honda guy still at heart?
Yeah, I mean, at heart, I'm still a Honda guy, man. It's like, at heart, I'm a Honda guy, but like, I probably would never buy a Honda again.
Okay.
I did think a couple times about getting a Volkswagen, and
what about BMW? That seems to be a pretty It's
I
come.
actually had a little. I owned an M4 for a
Okay.
short amount of time, and I wasn't like a huge fan, so I never decided to, to get into it.
Yeah.
Um,
I like that response.
yeah, yeah, I wasn't.
I feel like BMWs, they're everywhere now. Like it's the new. I guess I don't know. They're taking over in a sense.
Yeah, a lot of those, production style cars, or the Audis are
Yeah,
the newer Audis and newer Volks, and they're pretty impressive. I mean,
they are.
you could go fast with these things.
I just think it takes away for me personally. You make a Honda fast, you're making a slow car fast.
Sure, sure.
Like you're extracting something out of it you shouldn't.
Yeah, yeah.
To me, that's what makes it interesting.
I think for me, the Volkswagen, like I said, it's just there's not a lot of guys doing it, so it's a small little group of guys. In the beginning, I feel like they were kind of like, like what the hell are you guys doing? Like, because we were buying parts from a guy Mike that
Okay.
sells parts, and like I was kind of like picking his brain. And I think in the beginning, it's kind of like I'm asking him questions, and he doesn't want to waste a ton of time either.
Yeah.
To a guy that may not be super serious or is just going to look to go out and break shit or
Yeah.
whatever it may be. So in the beginning, I felt like it was tough because there were things that we may have been trying that wasn't working, but they really shared a lot of info with us, and we kind of put our little spin on things with the trans and trying to run a final that they weren't using, revving the hell out of the things, which
Mm-hmm.
hasn't really presented a problem up until like the last outing.
Okay.
But yeah, they captivated me. It definitely intrigues me
I'm
a
not
bit
gonna
more.
lie. I'm pretty intrigued by them.
Yeah.
Seeing you work on them and seeing what what you've done with the green one,
Yeah.
it kind of interests me to the point where one day I could see myself working on one.
Yeah.
Which it's for me to say that is a lot.
Yeah, they're cool cars, and like I've tuned a few other ones, through referrals from these guys, like a road race car and street cars, and the clientele. They're good kids. They're good kids. They're I don't want to say more passionate than a Honda guy, but like maybe like a little more in tune or something.
Okay.
With things like I joke with Cunha down at CLM. I'm like, man, I don't know how you deal with some of these guys. Like, and I don't know.
I agree.
I mean, yeah, you tune them all the time too, and it's
I
like
agree.
I'm down there and like I'll still see these cars come in, and I'm like, man, like it's 2026. Like people still have these cars like
Yeah, I hear you.
half put together.
Yep.
So that's kind of discouraging because
with $500 harnesses.
With 500, yeah, yeah. I make the joke where it's like a lot of the guys, even the big guys, they'll spend 5,000 on a turbo.
Yep.
To go be competitive, but like 5,000 for a harness, they're like, oh my god,
they can't believe it. Yeah.
So, but yeah, no, the Volkswagen stuff definitely has my interest now.
Okay. Nice.
Yeah.
So I got a couple more questions, but just just a quick one for you.
Yeah.
Hall tech versus fuel tech.
I think it depends on the application, but really depends on who's tuning the car.
Okay.
That's the main thing. I tell everybody, because as a wiring guy, sometimes people don't know what they want. Sometimes they'll contact me for a harness and say, Paul, how much is your harness? And sometimes I get in that bug too, where I'm like, all right, am I going to really waste an hour on the phone? So I'll put $3,500. I'll just shoot a number out sometimes. And then they'll respond, and I'll go back and forth. And if I have time to entertain it, I will. A lot of people don't know what ECU they want to put on their car because they'll see this guy went fast on a max ECU, or this guy went fast on a fuel tech. This guy went fast on a motor. Like I tell guys, and I'm super honest, I don't care what you put on the car because most likely I'm not going to be the one tuning it for you.
Yeah.
Get in touch with your tuner.
And they could all go fast.
They could, and they've all been fast.
Exactly.
So it's like, there's more than one way to skin a cat. It just depends on the way you want to go. Guys have been just as fast on a max ECU.
I like Max, by the way. Max is. I like Max a lot.
Buddy of mine does a lot of tuning on it. He likes it.
Yeah.
It's on one of the Volkswagens on the all motor car. But again, I think it really comes down to tuner preference.
So what's your favorite ECU, engine management system? Do you have one?
It's hard to say. Like from a user standpoint, I probably have to say the Haltech just because I use it the most.
Okay.
But like the new Motec stuff is crazy. I mean, the M1 stuff, like for guys that are way smarter than I am, like that's the ECU.
It's intimidating because you have to have like your own firmware. Like,
yeah,
I don't know.
So for guys that are super smart, I think they should go with a Motec.
Okay.
You know, for guys that are really good tuners but don't have the ability to write their own firmware and set up all this stuff from scratch, then for a drag car, a Fuel Tech or a Max ECU is probably going to be the way to go.
Yeah.
From what we've seen in the front wheel drive world.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, on the rear wheel drive cars, the same thing. Like they're running Motecs, they're running Fuel Techs. I'm sure some of them have Max ECU.
Yeah.
I don't, you know.
The cool thing about the Motec, and I don't have experience with it, but these guys are developing their own tuning strategies.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
Yeah.
Like you said, even going back to what you said about mil spec and how you didn't even put yourself in that category, it'd be the same for me as a tuner. Like I'm not writing my own code or developing my own tuning strategy.
You know what?
Like some of these guys.
You know what the thing is? You have to be, no matter what area you want to specialize in, or when you're doing this sort of stuff, you still need to be realistic about things. You know, it's like if somebody said to me, "Hey, Paul, I know you make Motec harnesses. Shane Tecklenburg is parting ways with his rear wheel drive program. Can you take over the tuning?" I would immediately say no. I'm not smart like that. I don't have the know-how. I don't have the experience. Realistically, I'll probably never be at that level. But I think when you don't have a realistic expectation like that, or can't kind of self-reflect and know what your strong and weak points are,
you get yourself in trouble.
Get yourself in trouble real fast. You know, a guy said to me years ago, and it stuck with me. He was a service manager at a dealer, and he said, "Paul, there's a million places for everybody to swing a bat. It doesn't have to be the major leagues." So it kind of, you know, I reference that a lot because I think when you are in this, I mean, definitely in the motorsport thing, there's an ego thing there. Yep. You know, there's a lot of big egos in this, but I feel like your ego is what could get you into some trouble.
Yeah.
And you know, us as men, we want to always be the best, and it's not a lot of guys can admit when another man is just better than them or stronger than them or more physically fit than them, or just, you know, downright better at X, Y, and Z. And sometimes that could get you into some serious trouble.
Yeah.
So that it's pretty important to know where you stand with this stuff. So when it comes to an ECU, it's like, obviously who's tuning it, but again, you need to choose the right guy, because just because a guy got his hands on a Motec doesn't mean he should have his hands on that 100%. Motec.
I think your answer was spot on. You couldn't have answered it any better.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So I want to switch a little bit again.
Yeah.
And I kind of want to go into your mindset in general, your discipline. We know that this has, like I said before, you know, you apply this to everything you do. But another area that I wanted to talk about, which we hadn't talked about, is fitness.
Yeah.
And I know you're into fitness, and I want to know how that discipline, that mindset, you know, how you apply that to that as well.
So that started out literally the same time that I was able to drive. Was the first time that my cousin had introduced me to a local gym by us. And it was, in the beginning, I don't really know why I was doing it. I don't know if it was a good outlet or I had something built up. I always liked the challenge, and I knew it was going to be challenging. And when I realized how much discipline it took, it was a little discouraging. And that was just something that, as the years went on, it just became part of my life. Like, I don't think of it in any other way except another daily practice. It's been the only constant in my life. Like I told you, the tuning was up and down, and the wiring was up and down, and working on cars was always up and down. There were times I loved it, and like I couldn't wait to get back to work and buy tools off the truck, and you know, but the gym was just always a constant. And when people say like, oh, like sometimes I'd be in the gym in the summer, and I always wear a sweatshirt. I never wear short sleeves. If I go to the beach or something, I do. But I remember like years ago, guys would be like, how come you never...
If I go to the beach, I wear a sweatshirt.
But it was never really about that. That was, you know, just being in shape was a byproduct of the constant discipline, the constant showing up. And for me, to be honest, I think it just added some structure to my life that I needed, because there's been plenty of times in my life where I didn't have a lot of structure. It
Yeah.
was the only constant. Listen, there were times I've been lazy. There were times I've been sad and mad and, not as good of a father as I should have been. I've been a lot of things, but the gym has always been that level line, which now at 43, almost 44 years old, I realize that those constants and those small little daily habits are the things that help build the
I agree.
wiring, the tuning, there has to be some kind of constant and structure in your life. I mean, there were times I never would make my bed in the morning, and that was a big thing
Mhm.
for me as a kid. My dad wouldn't let me leave the house until the bed was made, the garbage was taken out. Um, and I think as a young adult, I got lazy, and if I partied on the weekend and drank, that stuff went out the window, and then I would do it and then I wouldn't. And now I'm to the point where it's like, okay, these are non-negotiables,
Mhm.
and this is just the way it's going to be. And that's what fitness was. It
Yeah.
was always a constant.
Yeah.
So
And the reason I bring it up is because, again, you got so many kids coming up in the car community who have no discipline,
yeah,
who have no commitment. These part out guys are parting out cars weekly. And
yep,
these are all guys that are just quitting on something they started on. And, um, your focus on fitness and being healthy, and it just goes to show your mindset.
yeah,
Um, so yeah, I wanted to bring it up because I thought it was important. I think this generation is lacking in discipline and in commitment.
yeah.
And I think it'd be healthy for them to have a mentor like you in their life, to be honest with
Well,
you.
look, I mean, I'm looking at the comments now. One guy wrote, "Thank you so much for the great knowledge. Most definitely missing out on it." HD Wiring wrote, "Taking your classes were basically life changing for my business." Like,
Same here.
it's funny because in my mind, I knew, and I'm surprised you didn't ask this question about the courses, but
I'm
in
getting to that.
in my
We're
mind,
gonna finish with that,
I
by the
think
way.
I may kind of cover some of them now, because in my mind, that was the end goal.
Mm-hmm.
It really wasn't about money. So before I started working on cars, I always wanted to be a math teacher.
Okay.
That was my dream. Life took certain roads, and I started working on cars. But I I knew that if I can help somebody reach their goal, that would be more fulfilling to me than making a harness for somebody and selling it to them, getting the money, and not really hearing from them again.
Yeah.
Like, people will now constantly reach out, and to be able to make listen, I could sell you a harness that's the greatest thing under the sun,
Yeah.
and it doesn't do the same thing for me as somebody taking my course and saying, "Dude, you changed my life,"
Mhm.
or, "Man, that helped my business get to the next level," or, "Thank you for educating me on X, Y, and Z." Um, and that's really what it was all about. And having fitness there as the baseline, as the constant, kind of gave me a little bit of confidence to come up with these courses. And my ex-girlfriend that I was dating for about 4 years, she was my biggest supporter. She had more confidence in me than I had in myself. She was my biggest fan. Um, Many late nights where she'd be on the couch just hanging, and I'd be making a harness, and she'd want to sleep, and I'd need her help with stuff. Like, just totally pushed me
That's
along.
awesome.
I probably wouldn't have come up with the courses if it wasn't for her.
Mm-hmm.
I remember I was getting a lot of messages on Instagram, and as much as I tried to answer all of them, I'm like, man, this is a really inefficient way for me to occupy my time after work. Like, I'm working 9 to 5 or 8 to 4, whatever. And then I go to the gym, and then I prep my food. Then I make sure that, everything is the way it's supposed to be to prep for wiring. And I have a girlfriend at the time, and we're trying to have some kind of life. So it was, there was a lot going on. So as these questions were coming in, I'm like, man, I could probably take all these questions and the amount of years I've been doing this, come up with a course. And I literally had to back off the information in that intro course.
Yeah.
It would have taken me 3 days to do it with the amount
Mm-hmm.
that I had. Um, and for the first time in my life, I'm always pretty confident, like in a repair on a car or building an engine or something like that, or an engine harness. But for the first time, when I came up with that course, I was like, this is going to work. This is going to work and do exactly what I want it to do. And I know it.
That's awesome.
I knew the harness, if I sell one, would function,
Mm-hmm.
but would it do what I wanted it to do? Was it going to give me that feeling that you get like
Yeah.
when I get messages like this? It's
Yeah.
pretty incredible because I'm not going to mention any names, but there were some people that I had mentioned about that course, and they were like, I don't know if I would do that. I don't know if I would give all that info. That's a lot of info because most of us wiring guys are all self-taught.
Yeah.
There's really no courses. I mean, HP Academy has some now, but for guys that did it as long as we did.
And I will say, not to interrupt, I took the HP courses and left almost the same.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying they're not good courses. For me, they didn't work well.
Yeah.
And I took your course and it was life changing.
Yeah.
So it's worth. I try to tell everybody who asks me,
Yeah.
it's worth that and more.
I mean, that was kind of what I figured. I mean, I looked at the pricing of those. I figured there's only so much you're going to get staring at a computer screen.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like a lot of these courses miss the basics.
Mm-hmm.
So again, with the intro course to pile it all together and put that info in there, I was pretty confident for the first time in my life that if people took this course and they came and they paid attention, they were going to leave knowing way more than what they came in knowing,
Mm-hmm.
and have a greater respect for it, even if building a harness wasn't going to be in the cards for them.
Yeah.
And it seems like that's what happened.
I on the first course, I left telling myself I was never going to construct the harness.
Yeah.
Because I realized just how much was involved in it.
Yep.
You opened my eyes to what it took to do it the proper way.
Yep.
And then by the second course, I was making them. Now I offer harnesses.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was actually gonna get to that, and you're basically answering all my questions. And I was gonna ask you, why are you so freely giving of this information? But you kind of already answered that, and
yeah,
there's not many.
kinda,
I'm sorry, there's not many people who are like that. I know in my life, God has always had a way of putting certain key people in my life.
sure.
When I started tuning, it was Rolo tuning. He was the same way, old school, knew what he was doing, no fluff, just who he was,
Yeah.
and willing to, to give information.
Yeah.
And then when it came to wiring, God allowed me to meet you, and you were the same way. You're just freely giving of your information. And I tell people all the time that if I could give you the money for the pamphlet you get, for the book, it'd be worth.
Yeah.
Just the pamphlet would be worth the price of admission.
Yeah.
But when you go to one of your courses, you learn so much more.
Yeah.
Like I was sharing with you, like the discipline, the character, just the way you are, like it shows you a lot, I know
Yeah.
I gained a bunch of information from you.
No,
And I
I
thank
love
you.
to hear that. I love to hear that. And I mean, I've been, it was kind of always in my nature, to be, I was never one to like withhold information, even working at the dealer. You get a lot of guys that, it's pretty much every man for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
But when I started out, like I told you, there were a lot of guys that weren't like that with me. They really helped me with a lot of things. They showed me things that helped me make money, which in turn kind of could have taken away money from them, but they didn't act like that with me. And I've worked with people who have acted like that, and it's not a good feeling. I'm not saying you have to give away every secret of the trade.
Mm-hmm.
I'm probably well aware that I've probably given more information. I think I could say with confidence I've probably given away more information than probably any
I agree.
guy will. But I don't feel it doesn't hurt me because it's not about money for me. It makes me feel better to know that other people are growing. And in turn, that kind of all comes full circle anyway. In the big scheme of things. I guess maybe also because I wanted to be a teacher, I get some satisfaction in that as well. But to see people succeed, there's really, like, I already know I could succeed.
Yeah.
You know, I've already done it in many different areas. I mean, if you tell me to be a professional basketball player, I'm not going to be able to do that. I
Mhm.
know that. You know, I know I probably am never going to be able, you know, to hit a home run at a Yankee Stadium. But there are plenty of things that I was successful at that I know I can be. And to see other people uh, be successful at things uh, doesn't hurt me one bit or threaten my skill set.
I would say that, and I would also say that you could give somebody all the information, doesn't mean they're gonna do it.
No,
Because if
no.
they're gonna do it the way they should, it's
Yeah.
gonna cost.
Yep.
And a lot of people don't want to pay that price.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
everybody in my case, everybody wants to be a tuner,
Sure.
but they don't want to go through the process of actually becoming a tuner,
Well, yeah.
blowing up their own car,
Yep.
learning the hard way.
Yep.
You know, taking the steps to get to what they could envision.
You know, a lot of people are afraid of failure. And I think when they look at some of these things, whether it's wiring or tuning a car, it seems like such a daunting task for them until maybe they sit down with someone and come to my course. And by the second course, when you've seen the layout and there's a blueprint, you can make a harness. It doesn't mean it's going to be at your level, my
Mhm.
level, Cody Phillips. It doesn't mean it's going to be at that level, but you can construct one
Yep.
better than you did before you came into that course. And I could guarantee that if you follow the blueprint,
I'm a witness.
you know,
Yep.
and it's if you're, I think a lot of people start to stumble when that goalpost looks so far away
Mhm.
that starting is just almost impossible to them because the road ahead and the difficulties and disappointments are too much for them to deal with,
Yeah,
you know?
and I could guarantee that if you take both your courses, you will have the information you need to construct a proper wiring harness. The first course, tooling, you know, materials, crimps, you know, everything you're gonna need to know for the second course. Second course, you're on your way to actually constructing it,
100%.
and I could attest to that. You know.
And listen, I tell guys too, like I'll get messages like, "Oh, I do so and so, I build cars, I want to come to your course, which one should I take?" All right, tell me what you could do. Most of the time I tell them, start from intro. It's not about the money.
Nope.
It's $350 now. Like it's for the information that's in there, it's not about the money. Build your foundation the right way. Even a tuner, right? You're tuning Hondas.
Mm-hmm.
If you know your cars are coming in, possibly getting a flex fuel tune, possibly getting set up with a boost solenoid, possibly need a wideband wired in, you can have this stuff set up, ready to go. For the guys that come unprepared, you can have them set up for whatever chassis, whatever ECU, length already cut,
Exactly.
pins on the thing, ready to put in. And like, there are many different ways. You don't have to make an engine harness per
Mhm.
se. You know, you can make
I
a
agree.
jumper, you can make a patch loom. You,
And that's when I went. That's what I went for.
yeah,
And then it turned into something else.
yeah,
I remember last year you did something that stuck with me because most people won't do this. I don't know if you recall, but you reached out early last year and you said, "Man, you're killing it," and I could tell like there was true like you were really happy for me. You said you're selling more harnesses than me at this point, and you're killing it.
yeah,
Congratulations!
yeah,
And I thought to myself, "Wow." Um, Obviously, you're talking about a moment in time. You know, overall, it doesn't compare. But the fact that you were truly happy for me and my success that you were a part of, that you you fueled in me,
sure,
it was amazing because I've seen the opposite so many times where somebody becomes bitter
yeah,
or upset with that. You
yeah,
know what I mean?
yeah,
And again, don't mean to keep going on about it, but that shows a lot about your character.
yeah.
Yeah, you truly want to see somebody succeed.
I mean,
And
that's
that makes
the,
this course to me, it gives it the value it really deserves, you know?
yeah, that to me is the biggest, that's the biggest reward. You know, that's the biggest reward. Um, that's why I give people my phone number
Mm-hmm.
after the course. You could text me if you have questions. You could email me if you have questions. Um, it's just that was part of the plan when I was sitting at my wiring station coming up with this. You know,
Mm-hmm.
that was the plan to see people succeed. The plan was not to take someone's money and have them not be able to do anything with the course. The plan was exactly the feedback that I get 90% of the time when they say thank you. That was the best course I've taken.
Mm-hmm.
I got a ton of information. I left knowing more than I came in knowing.
Yeah.
And that's, that's the end goal. That's the end goal because, I have the two core, well, I technically have three, which I haven't really launched the third one yet.
Yeah.
Just due to like time constraints and stuff like that. But got the third one, have some more in the works. The one-on-one stuff's always available. And it's like, that's what fuels me.
Yeah.
That's what fuels me. The end result of seeing people reach their goals and or change their business around or add something to their business that they didn't know they had.
Correct. Yep.
Just like there were times when I doubted myself or didn't know, and there were people to kind of push me along and here, do this, do that, or just steer you in a direction that you might not normally have gone.
Yeah, I hear you. And to answer, I know you answered it, but to answer some of the people that were asking you the question, I think the first course is necessary. And I think it doesn't matter what level you're at. I think you could gain something from the first course for sure. I think it's very important for you to take intro and have the foundation to take advantage of the second course, in my opinion. And I don't think it's how much you know thing, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I think it's a foundation, personally.
I agree too. Because of the way I structured that, because I feel like even for guys that do know some stuff, there may be an area of intro where they are a little rusty or don't know as much about the tooling or how to get away with some of the economy crimpers and not have to buy a $500 tool or wire selection or even where to get material or the proper splices. There's a lot of information in there. So even if you were to gain just a little bit out of it, it's got to be worth $350. I mean, people spend more than that on a dinner.
Yep.
You're talking about a lot of information.
I agree.
In that course. So I agree too. I tell most people to take the intro course. There's some guys that reach out. I believe he's in California, Firmworks Wiring. I think he had asked, and I'm like, yeah, but you make harnesses already. And I think he might have wanted to know a little bit about the concentric twisting and using the boots and glue and this and that. Like for that, if you're already constructing a full harness,
then
we could probably skip intro.
That's probably the 1% though. I would say.
And the more I talk to people, the more the one-on-one is geared for them, because what I do with the one-on-one is if they know they want to take intro one-on-one, I'll do it. If they need like a combination of both, I'll structure it around our conversation that we had. And like I was telling you before, I give them about an hour, hour and a half worth of just questions that they have. It could be related to intro. It could be related to build and design.
I took build and design twice. Yeah. I don't know if you recall, but there was so much information I asked you to go a second time. I don't know if you recall.
Yeah, I do.
I was even willing to pay a second time.
There's a lot of information, and the one-on-ones I'll structure around the person. So if you got an hour, I'll give you an hour and a half worth of questions that could pertain to anything. Yeah. So even for that, it's like you're going to leave with so much information.
Yeah, I agree.
But yeah, that's probably the not the norm where you'd get a guy that's already building harnesses to that level where, again, if 1 out of 10 harnesses are getting concentric twisted, most guys aren't doing it. Yeah. So if they want to learn that, then I mean that's a whole day on its own if we need to. So.
I'll be whenever that course comes out, I'll be there for sure. I don't know how much I want to do it, but it might be like the harnesses. After I take the course, I'm probably gonna do all concentric twisted.
You may do one and never do it again. But yeah, it's available.
Yeah. Well, Paul, I really thank you for your time. I do have one more question.
Yeah.
And then we'll do the closing statements.
Yeah.
What's your PB? How much could you lift?
How much can I lift?
Yeah.
I don't lift very heavy anymore, but as a younger man at 165 pounds, I was powerlifting for a little bit.
Okay.
And I did a 365-pound bench at 165.
Wow.
So
you weighed 165.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I'm about 200 now, and I probably can't do that. So.
What do you lift now, if you don't mind me asking, for like sets or
whatever feels good, man. I'm just trying not to get hurt. I just want to be able to do it, for longevity now. Okay. I don't go crazy. I just
I
I
know,
make
I
sure.
know when you walked in and my son asked, "Who's bigger, me or you?" I felt good. I'm not gonna lie, but I have a big sweater on.
Yeah, nowadays we just don't want to get hurt, man.
I hear
You
you.
know,
Well, Paul,
but
thank you for coming. Where can somebody reach you if they're
um,
interested in a harness? If they have questions?
so they can email me at wiredbypauld@gmail.com. Check out the Instagram, wired by Paul D.
Okay.
Those are the best ways. Just
Okay.
DM or email. You know,
Awesome.
all my stuff is on my Instagram. My
Okay.
phone number's on there. They could give me a call. I don't know if any of these guys have
Yeah.
any
Let's check for
questions or whatever.
questions. Let's see if anybody has questions. Now will be the time to ask them.
I didn't really see too many come in.
For some reason, they're not showing on my end.
Yeah, there's not too many on
Not
there.
too many.
But
Okay.
you know, if
Well,
they got
this
questions and you want to set something else up, I'll come back. We'll do another one.
I appreciate it,
Yeah,
and this is gonna stay. This is gonna be posted, so they
cool.
could watch back, and if they have questions, they could get in
Awesome.
contact with
Awesome,
you.
man.
But thank you for coming again.
Thank you for having me.
I can't stress it enough. You've been a blessing to my life. You've been an inspiration. I'm glad I could say it to your face and I could share it with the world.
Yeah.
Thank you for everything, brother.
Thank you, man.
So,
That means a lot.
yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, guys. Thank you for joining the Fuel Up Podcast, episode number 1. Have a good night.